Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music. I woke up this morning to the very sad news that one of my favourite guitar players, John Sykes, has passed away yesterday, the 20th of January 2025. So John was a huge influence for me as a guitar player growing up and learning guitar. He most famously played with Whitesnake and Thin Lizzy, but there was a lot more depth to his career than just that. Born in 1959, and in his 20s he joined a band called the Tigers of Pantang. They were a new wave of British heavy metal band, and he certainly brought them from where they were like a punk band into more of a metal type sound. He was a virtuoso guitar player, fantastic at playing guitar solos and riffs, and he could really shred. He was a brilliant guitar player, really knew his instrument well and could get fantastic tones on his guitar. When Snowy White left Thin Lizzy in the early 1980s, Phil Lynott tapped up John Sykes to join Thin Lizzy to record the album Thunder and Lightning, and to me this is one of Thin Lizzy's best albums. The guitars are much heavier and much more pronounced, but in my opinion it's a fantastic album, and of course John Sykes had a massive influence on this album in terms of the songwriting and the guitar sounds. He famously co-wrote the song Cold Sweat. He was massively influential on changing the sound of Thin Lizzy from a hard rock band, as they had been in the 1970s, through to more of a kind of heavy metal sounding band in 1983. Unfortunately, this would be the last album that Thin Lizzy would record. The band would break up shortly after the release of this album. Phil went on to form a project called Grand Slam, which John Sykes was involved with for a brief period of time before he joined Whitesnake. So in 1984 he joined Whitesnake. Their album Slide It In had already been recorded. It was ready for release, but Geffen Records wanted to re-record some of the guitar parts for the American market. So John came into the studio after all the work had been completed and overdubbed the guitar parts for the American version of Slide It In. It's a lot more rock sounding, a lot more metal sounding, and really takes Whitesnake in a different direction, and John was a massive part of that. Then he toured with Whitesnake before Whitesnake came back into the studio to record their next album, 1987, which was released in 1987. John Sykes was the only guitar player in the band. He plays all the guitars on this particular album with the exception of the guitar solo to Here I Go Again, which was recorded by Adrian Vandenberg. John had a massive influence on this album. He co-wrote basically all of the songs: Still of the Night, Bad Boys, Is This Love, Children of the Night, and Straight to the Heart. The mixing on this album is amazing. Bob Rock of Metallica fame was involved with getting a great guitar tone for John Sykes, and he was also involved in mixing this album. But unfortunately, John didn't really get on with David. The relationship fell apart, and as a result of that, John left the band, as did Neil Murray and Ainsley Dunbar, and David Coverdale brought in a brand new lineup to go and tour the songs that were recorded by John Sykes and the other musicians on this album. So that was very unfortunate. Following that, John went on to form a band called Blue Murder, and they released 2 albums. He also released some live albums with Blue Murder and on his own, and he formed a version of Thin Lizzy in the mid-2000s with Scott Gorham and Darren Wharton. But there's no doubt in the talent of John Sykes, and he will definitely be missed in the world of rock and metal, and certainly as a guitar player he was one of the best. There's no doubt about it. I hope you enjoyed my tribute to John Sykes, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.
Got a whole month's wages. I haven't seen that much.